All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Apologies for the late start. We had a bit of a weather event here in Atlanta that unfortunately prevented us from starting on time, but we certainly appreciate you sticking with us and being here anyway. We have a super exciting group of staff ready to talk about their experience with the CS First Coding program, in addition to a number of really cool other opportunities, and definitely spend a little time answering your questions, and hopefully everybody will get a chance to comment and ask questions as we go on. There is a chat box to just below this window, so do feel free to drop in comments or questions as we go, and we should certainly have some time at the end to address those. My name is Abby Fiddler. I'm a director on our digital youth engagement team. I am joined by a fantastic group of people here today, starting with my BGCA colleague, Susan. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi guys, I'm Susan Chavalino. I've recently come to the national office out of Maryland, the club's there. I have been working with STEM for a few years now, and I'm excited to represent the VISTA program that we run out of the national office. It's the Google Code Core program where we take CS First into clubs. Our VISTAs do not actually get to do that. They have to find the volunteers and train the Boys and Girls Club staff to make that happen. That's what a VISTA does. They don't do direct service, but they actually help you in the field do that. So that's what they're doing here today. They're helping Boys and Girls Clubs across the country do that. So I'm going to start over there with Preston, and you guys will introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, hi everyone, my name is Preston. Thanks for the introduction, Susan. I'm in AmeriCorps Vista, working with the Boys and Girls Clubs of North San Mateo County. And so for those of you that are unfamiliar with the Bay Area, San Mateo is located just south of San Francisco. I decided to join AmeriCorps because I wanted to serve my country and make computer science accessible to all, regardless of their ability to pay.
I'm Michael. I work with Preston here in North San Mateo County. I decided to join AmeriCorps because prior to this, I'd been doing a lot of fundraising for STEM education at an Oakland Tech Museum, and I wanted to take this chance to try and make a bigger impact on the other side of the bay. And we can start talking or getting her. You want to introduce Wendy and Jordan?
Yeah.
So my name is Jordan. I'm also AmeriCorps Vista. Wendy and myself serve in Silicon Valley Boys and Girls Club, which is located in San Jose, California, even more south, and in Morgan Hill, which is below us. I personally have worked with a Vista before. I chose specifically to do Google Code Core because I felt like it would help me with skills to help not only help me and support professionally, but I also really like working with underserved youth, and I wanted to learn more about technology.
Cool. My name is Wendy Du. I'm also in AmeriCorps Vista working with Jordan in Silicon Valley. I decided to join the AmeriCorps because I'm very passionate about STEM education, and I also wanted to give back to the community and work with more people in the community and get to know them.
That's fantastic. Thank you, guys. I know you have a bunch of things to tell us. I do want to also recognize that we are joined by Jessica Vaughn today, who's helping us with keeping track of everybody and moderating and all those other important things that keep all the good stuff happening. So I do want to make sure that we recognize her, even though she's working a bit behind the scenes at the moment. On that note, I will throw it over to you guys to kind of tell us everything that you've seen, experienced, and what you want us to know.
Okay, great. So I'll start. So I'm sure that some of you guys listening in are considering a computer science enrichment program at your location, and I'd like to take a quick minute to talk about why computer science is important. And so according to national statistics taken from code.org, around 9 in 10 parents want their kids to learn or be exposed to computer science, but only 1 in 4 schools currently offer classes. Google study found that 95% of their employees who have computer science degrees were exposed to the field prior to college, so early exposure is extremely important. And a computer science degree yields around 40% more lifetime earnings as opposed to the average of all the other college degrees combined. And computer science is a great opportunity for underserved populations. And specifically for CS First, if you guys are wondering what that is, it's a science curriculum created by Google using the Scratch programming language from MIT. It's designed to be a great introductory enrichment program for kids 8 to 14 years old. And CS First consists of tutorial videos that coincide with 9 kid-friendly themes. So if you have kids that love to write, there's storytelling themed lessons. If your kids love to listen to music, there's music themed lessons. If your kids are into art and drawing, there's art themed lessons. If your kid loves Super Mario Brothers, there's obviously game design. So participants follow the curriculum to create really exciting computer science projects with Scratch.
So you guys may be wondering why CS First out of all the other computer science curriculums you may be considering. So Google CS First is a really low-cost option to add CS enrichment to your clubs. It's easy to implement, even with all 4 of us, all the Vistas, computer science experience, we are still able to run our clubs. Most of the volunteers that help us to run our clubs also have extremely limited computer science experience when they start. And of course, the Google name is really attractive to potential club members and volunteers, and it's good for media outreach as well. This is going to increase both membership and revenue at your clubs, and you can leverage the media exposure to promote your club. For example, Michael and I have been on KTVU Fox News to talk about our program, and in doing so, we also promoted the Boys and Girls Club in North Samatel. Also, CS First is really easily relatable to other STEM concepts. So you can use it with something like a Makey Makey. You can use it to leverage other lessons in Scratch. You can demonstrate other principles in STEM. So let's take a look at some of our clubs.
We'll talk a little bit about how Silicon Valley runs our club, because we run it very differently from the North San Mateo site. We run our CS First in classroom settings. So we have a room with about 15 to 20 computers or laptops, and each student will get onto these laptops and have their own laptop and their own headphones. We have 1 theme per semester, so the themes are tailored to the grades of the students. We rotate like groups of students based on their grades or age ranges. So, like, for instance, 4th and 5th graders will get the tech room for 1 hour of the day, and then all of those 4th and 5th graders will mandatorily have CS First for the day. And if they're 4th and 5th graders, we might give them an easy or medium theme versus an expert or advanced theme. We're also very lucky to have tech staff, 1 tech staff per site. So we already have someone who's a little bit more knowledgeable on computers and STEM. We train the staff so they're more comfortable with CS First. And we also recruit usually 1 or 2 volunteers per site to help these staff out, because we like students to have more one-on-one or like 1-on-3 attention. We have 9 sites in the Boys and Girls Club of Silicon Valley. We rotate about 4 to 5 sites per semester. So for instance, this semester we have 4. Next semester we're going to have 6. And lastly, we also like to incorporate CS First with a lot of our other projects, such as hackathons or College Week, Hour of Code. You know, anywhere where we have some sort of STEM event, we like to incorporate a little bit of CS First.
Okay.
No, you guys not.
Okay, so the program is extremely flexible. So Google has recommended that the program be set up to run classroom style, where every kid receives the same lesson at the same time. That's what the Silicon Valley Vistas have been doing, and they've been doing it with great success. However, for our sites in North San Mateo, we've tailored the program so that it accommodates our club's needs. Over the summer, we were running into a situation where some kids would be there for the first week of summer, and then their parents would pull them out of the program to take them on vacation somewhere, and they'd maybe come in for like 2 weeks of summer. And so rather than have them run classroom style where every kid receives the same lesson at the same time, which results in those kids being left behind, we decided to let the kids dictate the pace of the lessons every time they attend a session. So some of our more experienced and excited kids can finish, 2, 3, maybe even 4 lessons in a single class, while other kids who are maybe younger and less experienced may take 1 or 2 sessions to complete 1 lesson. This way, the program is much more kid-driven, and each kid's experience is shaped by their own individual needs. We run our programs up to 3 times a week, depending on the site. So there are some sites where there's only maybe like 10 to 12 kids, and so we run that once a week. And then one other site, at an elementary school, I think it's called Sunshine Gardens, we have 30 kids who are all excited, and we can't fit them all in the time, so we run it 3 times a week there. And now Wendy will go into some of our best practices that we found for our different clubs.
Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about some best technology practices that we've found through summer and fall. CS first. So one thing is to always start technology assessment early. So you want to make sure that each student has a pair of headphones and their own PC, because the program is very individualized to each student. So we want them to go at their own pace. You also want to make sure that if they're using laptops, that the touchpads are working smoothly, or that they have USB mice that they can use instead of the touchpad or trackpad. Google Chromebooks are also an excellent way to keep costs low, as they're very cheap, and they can also run CS First, and CS First is completely online. If you have poor Wi-Fi, we have found that sometimes using hotspots, if you can get hotspots, is a very good tool. Or if you have some Wi-Fi, you can show one video on a projector instead of having every student watch their own video, which can slow down the bandwidth. So just have one video on the projector, and everyone run their own Scratch program. And if there's just technology just not working that day, it's also good to have backup plans that don't require technology. So there's a bunch of games or projects that CS First has also included in their packages that don't require Wi-Fi or any type of computers to use. Jordan will talk about getting kids excited and engaged.
Yeah, so again, the club sizes might change based on where you're running the program. Our smallest club will have about 6 students at our smallest location, and then some sites we have over 25 students per 1 session. So the best way I find to get kids engaged is to know the kids and the volunteers you have. There's not really one set way in stone, but some things we have had that are helpful is, first off, with age groups. Students who are under 3rd grade we have difficulty with, because they're still learning to type and they're still learning to even write words. So they have difficulty with the program. Past 3rd grade, it's really just going to kind of, again, depend on the group of kids. Also, CS First, again, does offer lessons at variable difficulties, so you can match those up with the kids. And we've had success with more advanced students doing more advanced programs. A second thing that we recommend is to build a really good relationship, which is why we train our volunteers not only on CS First, but how to communicate with the students and how to, understand that their goal is to have fun. We want them to learn the coding. We want them to use Scratch to make their programs, but of course we really want them to have fun. So some kids, for example, are really into actually making the storyline and making the characters, while some kids are really more interested in doing fun things with the coding. So let the kids use their own creativity in the program, as long as they're having fun and learning the drag and drop coding. Another thing is that we like to talk about incentives. When it comes down to it, sometimes we have little swags or stickers or pens that we'll give the kids for completion. Another thing we do is we like to choose, personally at 2 of our sites, I have the kids set up passports, the little booklets that each student gets, or handed out headphones, or even show off projects. Some kids get very excited. They know they get to show their project off first for being helpful. So again, lots of ways they can keep the kids excited and motivated.
Yeah, and another way that we like to keep the kids engaged is to have other ways to link CS First to STEM. So something that we mentioned a little earlier was a Makey. I'm not sure if you guys can really see this, but basically what it is it gives kids the opportunity to make their own controller that they can control like a keyboard. So basically they grab a piece of cardboard or anything that's conductive of electricity. For example, this controller, which was made by one of my volunteers, is cardboard and these little brass fasteners. Attach this to something called a Makey. It's pretty cheap. You can buy them online. And it basically turns into a keyboard for whatever scratch product they're using. And so, like we said earlier, it's things like banana, all that works. It's a different way to use CS First from scratch.
Okay, great. So lastly, each one of us just has like one quick tip that we've all found very useful in our time here as Vistas. So I'll start. So number one for me is that when you're picking a staff member or you're trying to recruit a volunteer to run CS First, look for someone who has experience with kids or is excited to teach kids, rather than someone who necessarily has, say, a ton of computer science knowledge. When I came into this program, my CS experience was basically limited to being really good at Super Mario Brothers on the original Nintendo. That was basically it. And it only took me about a week's worth of time to learn like a semester's worth of lessons for the kids, right? And be able to be knowledgeable enough to train other staff members here at the site or new volunteers in CS First. You know, they're designed for kids 8 and up, so no matter what, an adult should be able to get through these lessons pretty great and pretty quickly. Okay.
A tip that I have is don't be afraid to let students work together or share their projects in the middle of class. It's also okay if students don't follow the activity exactly to the T. It's okay if they like want to draw a bunch of things or add a bunch of different sprites instead. Just make sure, have the kids, make sure they have fun, because you want them to see coding as a warm and welcoming experience where they're like having fun with other people, and make it a very social activity where they'll want to come back to it like years and years from now, instead of just as like one class, this one-time thing.
So one tip that I have is to give students and volunteers opportunities to give you feedback. So short periodic check-ins with volunteers and students help us to make continuous improvements. For example, things like the Makey and other side lessons, we wouldn't have known that kids wanted that unless we got their feedback. So yeah, it's always good to get feedback, and it's good to tailor your program to your kids.
So the last tip we have for you is, again, use the strengths of each volunteer or staff member in the class to help kind of curve the CS First program. CS First is a great backbone that Google provided us because it is so affordable and easy to use, but it's just that. The importance is that these kids get involved with coding, so hopefully they choose careers that involve STEM in the future. So that's going to be the biggest part of that.
That is fantastic. Is there anything else you guys wanted to add before we kind of jump into some questions?
Yeah, so for more information on starting a club, you can visit csfirst.com. It's cs-first.com. You can contact us via email. We'll give you guys our contact information after this webinar.
Awesome. A couple of other things that I will point out while we're doing resources. I would like to either inform or possibly remind everybody watching, next week, December 5th through the 11th, is Computer Science Education Week. Here at Boys and Girls Club of America, we're super excited about it and doing everything we can to get our computer science and coding programs out. But a ton of other organizations and probably a lot of your local schools are also involved in that. So we definitely want to take a moment to make a plug for code.org and hourofcode.com. Those are both fantastic resources to use any time of year, but especially next week, it's exciting to be able to show that to your members, because a ton, just an absolute, I think, but something millions of other youth will be using Hour of Code next week to do their Hour of Code for CS Ed Week. So you can actually sign up to host an event at your club. That is totally free. All of the resources are available for free. You can do that at hourofcode.com. And all that's required is that you dedicate an hour of your members' time to writing code. That can be a great starting point if you're not sure that, you know, something like CS First that takes a little bit more time and a couple of weeks worth of kind of dedicated space and time, if that might be something that you haven't tried yet, or maybe you're not sure how your members will receive it, Hour of Code can be a great starting point because they are very short and very easy introductory activities to coding. And as we mentioned, next week is a time where a lot of other schools and organizations are getting their youth involved in coding. So almost certainly that won't be the only time it can be done, but definitely a great time to jump on board and be a part of something really big. The other thing I would like to point out, and we did get a couple of questions, I think, in the chat and even beforehand about this, is that our Vista has mentioned that the CS First program also comes with some potential offline activities. And we know that there are a lot of days where, you know, the Wi-Fi isn't working or there might not be Wi-Fi at all. So I do want to point out that those activities do exist. We also offer, as part of our computer science pathway, one of the programs that we recommend is CS Unplugged. That can be another great alternative to a day where maybe you don't have the ability to take members into the computer lab, or you know, for whatever reason you don't have Wi-Fi or the Wi-Fi is not working, and really get your members interested in a time and space where they're not always digitally connected, but they can still learn about computer science concepts. They can still you know, be involved in that way. So that is available on our technology programs website, which is myfuture.net. I will point out really quickly here where you can find those things, because we do have links to our Scratch as well as code.org and all of our other fantastic activities. So this is myfuture.net. This is where you can find all of our technology education programs, including Essentials, which is our digital literacy suite of activities. But if you go up here to this Extensions tab, you'll get a couple of different options. But under that red building button, you will see that you can click this to see all of the extension activities we have under there. And this is where you will find all of our coding and computer science activities that we work with here at BGCA. So you could see it does start with Hour of Code at the very top. If you've not done coding before, or you want to get maybe a new set of members involved in coding, that's a great place to do it. If you have members who are video game fans, they have themes ranging from Minecraft to Star Wars to Angry Birds to Plants vs. Zombies, I think is in there. So a great way to take a lot of your existing member interests and get them thinking about how coding relates, so that you can move to something like those CS First themes that are a little broader around things like music and design, and a little more room for creativity there. You'll see a CS Unplugged. That is that program that you do not need any type of device or internet access for. So again, a great way to expand your offerings without always tying up the computer lab. And then you'll also see we have links to the Scratch and Scratch Ed site here. That is where you can find information on how to either access Scratch online. It does also come with a downloadable version, again, if your internet is limited, along with links to things like CS First and all of the other curricular opportunities that are available there. And we have a couple of other things if your members have advanced past that and are ready to do something a little more sophisticated. We've recently launched an in-house program we call App Lab. We worked with MIT to help build this on their App Inventor platform, where your members will actually get to build a functioning Android app through that program. So that's an exciting next step. In addition to, we're looking at things like Code Academy or edX, where they can start to get some sort of hands-on actual syntax type knowledge. So I did want to point those out. I apologize for speaking a lot right there, but I do want to make sure that everybody on the chat today got a look at where to find those and how they can access all of these amazing resources. There we go, we get back to video. As we mentioned, we will definitely send some follow-up information about how you can reach all of these links and contact us with any future questions. But we do have a couple of minutes left today that I would definitely like to open it up for everyone. If you want to pop any questions into the chat box, or if you have other sort of comments or things that you would like to hear from our team. We do have a couple of questions that have already come in. And I would ask our Vista team and Susan to weigh in on this. But we have some staff who are concerned about how they can recruit volunteers or even train staff to participate in these CS programs without that background. What do you do to support training or to build that confidence with those people?
Okay, so for training, you really don't need that much training. I would highly recommend staff do the first few lessons on CS or cs-first.com under Students Try It Now. So Preston and I usually start the kids on storytelling or art. So I would recommend you guys try those. You'll see how easy it is to get started and how simple the lessons are. And if you decide to order CS First classroom materials, they include a solutions manual for every lesson. So if you get lost, you can still learn the lesson and what are the relevant CS First concepts the lesson is trying to teach. And all those materials are free.
Awesome. Yeah, CS First again is a great resource to start. Earlier mentioned from Preston was that volunteers with kids experience working with kids or who are passionate about kids is extremely helpful versus those with CS background. When Wendy and I perform trainings, we do multiple hours with our trainings, and we implement having them run through the program as if they were teaching it, having them run through a program as if they are a student, as well as troubleshooting and tips about the clubs. But honestly, when you're in a club with 20 students who are all really hyper or really agitated or bored, it's a lot of a different setting than when you're in a training with adults. So I tell all the volunteers just to make sure that the kids are having fun, and if things get off track, then what you scheduled, that's okay. Wendy and myself also are there for the first couple sessions of each club with the volunteers and staff to make sure things run smoother and to kind of help troubleshoot some issues, and then we kind of let them go from there and just check up on them periodically. So again, there's lots of ways of doing it, but being comfortable with kids is really helpful.
So as for volunteer recruitment, we found that a lot of students from colleges really like to volunteer and get out with kids, or they already have some sort of technology background. So we have this kids and technology background. So those are really good, a group of people to reach out to. Another is if you go on code.org, there is a part of their website where you can look for volunteers who are in the tech field or are working as like engineers, and they want to help kids. Like they specifically signed up on that website to talk to kids or go into classrooms and help teachers. So those are two really good resources that we found for recruiting volunteers.
And volunteer match as well.
Right. Yeah, volunteer match. So CS First also recruits volunteers for you. Google has a database of volunteers that are interested in helping at CS First clubs, and so you might have some success there as well.
That's fantastic. Thank you, guys. We had another question that I think you guys have sort of referred to, but maybe if you could help clarify. One of the things that you mentioned kind of getting the kids excited was using their passport with the program. Can you talk a little bit about what that is, how you got them, and how you use them?
Okay, so the passport is like a small booklet, and they're all based around a theme. So there's like a storytelling booklet, there's an art booklet, there's a game design booklet. And they have these little pages with spaces for little badges or stickers that the kids can earn for completing lessons. And the page where you put the sticker on will also include reminders of the blocks that the kids used in the coding lesson and what those blocks are supposed to represent in terms of computer science concepts. So, 3 or whatever, you learn how to do basic animation by doing repeat and next costume and putting those blocks together. And they'll get that little sticker and all those little reminders that they get to keep once they complete all of the art lessons. So whenever they scratch outside of CS First and outside of your program, they still get to have all these reminders of all the concepts they learned.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's like a passport. You get stamps from different countries. It's like that. You get a stamp for every lesson.
And we get those from Google. They come with the CS First classroom supplies, and again, it's all free.
What I personally have also found with the passports is it's a good barrier between the kids who aren't really into computers or tech. So it kind of sets aside, it sets the mood where the kids come in and they get their passports first, they get to go through them, they get to check their stickers out, and then so it kind of takes away that little bit of a getting settled before they have to get right into the videos and the coding. So it's a nice buffer between those kids who might not want to be on a computer the whole time and to get them settled.
That's fantastic. Thank you, guys. One of the other things that you had mentioned earlier was kind of incentives and how you use those. If you guys could talk a little bit about maybe what you've seen or some of the other things that you think might be helpful, especially about those members that maybe, you know, they've seen it and it's exciting and their friends are there, so it's really cool. But after they've done a couple of sessions, maybe they're not as interested, or, you know, maybe that interest starts to wane before they get to the end of the program. And what sort of things you do kind of in an ongoing way to keep your members excited and interested day to day.
Okay, so in terms of some incentives that we give them, like we said before, every time they complete a lesson, they get a sticker. If that's not enough, I know that for me and Michael it wasn't. So what we did was we actually had like weekly raffles for kids that finish their lessons. We have for kids that help us to answer questions. And also something that's not really an incentive is really showing kids what they can do with Scratch. Some of the Scratch projects are really creative. I know that I got one of the kids to get started by showing her a more advanced student's lesson. And so she got really excited about it. And I told her that, oh, you could be doing this really quickly as well. And so that's something that also get kids excited, showing them the potential of what they can really learn and what they can really create.
Yeah, so I think Preston and Michael made some really good points with incentives. Again, we have five to six clubs that we run. So what I really like with the incentives is when the volunteers actually come up with them. So I've seen some of our even younger, our high school student volunteers get really excited with the kids. So I think their incentive is to actually work with the kids or have the kids show off projects and work in groups. Another incentive that we do at the club I'm at most is who gets to set up for the day, who gets to come in first to the room and help turn on the computers. So they're learning how to assist with the volunteers, as well as they have a little more of a special opportunity. Some kids don't like sharing projects at all. They're very shy. So you figure out a different incentive for them.
That's great. Thank you. Wendy, you mentioned earlier that some of your members have worked with the program like on laptops and checking to make sure that, you know, like the trackpad is functioning and that sort of thing. Could you guys briefly talk about what kinds of equipment you think that serves members best? So I think we also referred to earlier them having headphones so that they can kind of hear what's going on. What other, either a type of computer or other equipment or other materials should a club have on hand for running this program?
Honestly, the bare minimum is any PC or laptop works because Scratch is all online, CS First is all online. And yeah, bare minimum is just like a laptop and a pair of headphones. You don't really need that much else besides it. That's like the great thing about CS First. You don't need a lot of tech equipment to have the program, and it's free. Some like helpful things, you know, like keyboards, mouses, mouse pads, projectors, so everyone can see the same screen. Those are just kind of helpful things. Projector screens, hotspots. Those are all kind of the things that we've gotten, but they're just kind of extras. All you really need is a laptop and a headphone.
Yeah, and even with the headphones, because we are working at a nonprofit, a lot of our sites don't have headphones. So that's the number one, that's like the number one goodie list from us is to recruit and fundraise for headphones. But we have had students share headphones in the past. If you have multiple computers going quietly, it works okay. But in that case, we will have one master projector with the video showing, and then all the kids can watch and listen, and then they can have theirs on mute when they code. So there's, again, it's whatever works best. We did have a tablet question earlier. So Preston and Michael, did you guys want to talk about kind of the pros and cons of using a tablet?
Okay, real quick before using tablets, in case your CS First program becomes more popular and you have more kids than you have computers, we do recommend Chromebooks as a decent solution because they're very cheap and they'll run Scratch well. How much did our Chromebooks cost?
I mean, the Chromebooks can range for. I mean, you could get them on sale for probably like $100, $110 if you buy them in bulk. So they're really a pretty cheap solution, and you can also use them for other things. They're basically just computers that collect, but they're really good for CS First and Scratch. So moving on to using tablets. There's one reason that we don't really recommend tablets is because most tablets don't have Flash Player. First does work on tablets. Scratch doesn't. Scratch requires Flash, and we can't really run that on tablets. What we can recommend is that robots by Wonder Workshop. They're called Dot and Dash. I think you probably see them in like commercials for Best Buy and stuff like that. But these robots are really cool. They can run on either iOS or Android, and they teach kids block-shaped programming just like Scratch and CS First. And so you could probably get in touch with Wonder Workshop and see if you can get some of those donated. But in terms of tablets with CS First, we wouldn't recommend them.
Fantastic. And we did have one follow-up question on equipment about if you guys have any recommendation for durable headphones or what other types of headphones you used in your program.
Okay. Let me take a look here. The headphones are right behind me. So let me...
I mean, mainly the headphones that we used are just from Amazon. We got some fairly cheap ones. We didn't get the very cheapest ones because we thought that they were a little flimsy, but we got these kind of full-size looking ones.
Yeah. So it's called ConnectLand. Okay, that's not showing up, but the headphones are called ConnectLand. They were, I think, 15 to 20 a pair.
No, they're like. We bought in bulk. They're about $12 each.
Okay.
So they're really not that expensive, and they seem to last a lot longer than the $6 ones you can get on Amazon. But yeah, just something that is fairly cheap. You don't need anything fancy.
Yeah.
That's perfect. I think let me pull through here. So we'll definitely, I know we've had a number of questions related to kind of some of the links we've talked about and that sort of thing. We will definitely send a follow-up email. So I would encourage everyone, please do, if you have questions, pop those in the chat. We're happy to answer them. Also, if you received this invite because it was forwarded to you by somebody else or because you maybe jumped on with a colleague, we'll be sending the follow-up email to the email addresses that registered. So if you were not on the registration list, if you didn't receive the reminder earlier from me, that's a good way to check. I will probably not have your email address. So do feel free, if you're comfortable popping that in the chat, or if you would like, you can email me. My email address is afidler, AFIDLER, @bgca.org. And I will be happy to add you to that follow-up email so that you get all of the links and the information from all of our fantastic presenters. We did have, let's see, one more comment talking about, I think Wendy's already on it. But again, we did talk a little bit about that tablet versus laptop. It seems like maybe it's easiest to go with laptops if they are available. I think maybe a workaround for tablets might be using a keyboard and a mouse that could attach somehow or something like that if the tablet is capable of running the program, which is always an important thing to check, I'd imagine, anyway. All right, so we'll wait a few more minutes. I don't think I've seen any other questions pop up, but certainly if you guys have any other comments you would like to make or things that have popped up since we have it looks like maybe a minute or so to go. I do know we're running a little over on time, and I apologize for that. I think the late start kind of put us a little off our pace. But I definitely want to make sure everyone gets whatever questions answered they need, and certainly respect your time as well, because I know this time of day the members start rolling in.
So there was a question, I think it was in chat. What are some best practices you find that work with youth that are interested in things like video games or social media? but are challenged in areas of reading, writing, and math. Okay, so I can talk a little bit about, for example, the math thing. So our kids are about as young as 8. And when they're 8, 9 years old, they don't know X and Y coordinates yet. And like the third lesson in storytelling is learning how to make rain fall by having it start at the top of the screen and having it fall to the bottom. And that requires X and Y coordinates. And so this is the kind of situation where which is why we recommend volunteers or staff members have experience working with kids rather than experience with computer science. Because it's more important for a staff member to be able to adequately explain basic math, because CS first, in terms of the complexity of the coding, you're basically fitting little blocks together, right? It's more like teaching a kid how to fit together Legos than actual like computer science, like JavaScript or something.
Yeah, so the best thing about CS first is that you actually don't need to be great at like reading, writing, or math to code. All you need to do is be a little bit creative, and the rest of it you can probably figure out.
All right, fantastic. I don't think we've gotten any new questions pop up in the chat. So certainly, again, I've put my email address in there, and we will definitely send out a follow-up email. But I want to thank our fantastic presenters for giving up their time today to talk about the Code Core program. Susan and Jessica, thank you guys for putting the team together and keeping us on track and managing our chat today. And again, certainly everybody, please do feel free to continue to send in your questions, comments. We're always happy to help out however we can. This video will also be posted at this YouTube link in the future. So if you have anything you want to come back and refer to, or share this with any of your other clubs or staff, please feel free to do that. And good luck with CS Ed Week and your computer science in the future.